All right. Believe I am live. So now I'm just waiting for my OHanlon Selects to join the live chat. If you are watching on Patreon, make sure to hover your mouse over the video, and then the title of the video will pop up in one of these corners. Click the title to watch it live. This is if you're watching it at 7 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, or Eastern Time, New York time, on the 20th. If you're watching it after July 20th, you are not watching it live. Just see here if people are logging on. We have some people starting to join. Okay. We are rolling. All right. If you are watching on Patreon on my OHanlon Select page, make sure you hover your mouse over the video, like I was saying before, and click the little title. It'll be up in one of these corners, and click on it. It'll bring you to YouTube to watch the video live with me here on YouTube, and you can comment in the live chat chat box and all that stuff. I'll keep monitoring Patreon, the OHanlon Select page post, to see if anybody's commenting there. But hello, Virginia. All right, Lynette. All right, people are showing up. Cool. Very, very good. Can you all hear me okay? Is this loud enough? I can't tell. So maybe I can tell. Let's see what this sounds like. If you're just joining us on YouTube and you're watching live, let me know in the comments in the chat area. And sounds great. Okay, people are saying they can hear me. That's very good. Okay. Is that louder? It seems to be maybe a little louder. Hello, Ashley. How's it going? Yeah, as you guys join, let me know. I believe we have 3 people watching on YouTube, a few people watching on YouTube. Linda, you are watching on Patreon. Linda, if you are watching on a computer, you can click the title of the video on either side, on either up here somewhere in the video. If you hover your mouse over, if you're watching on a computer, if you're watching on a tablet, sorry about it. Let me see here. We have some more people joining on YouTube, which is great. As you join, let me know in the chat. For me, the chat is right there. The chat might be there for you, so I don't know. Let me know. Let's see if I could do something better with that light. There you go. It's a little warmer-ish. I'm gonna figure out a way. I gotta figure out a way to use my good camera for live streams and stuff like that. There is a way. I just gotta figure it out because the camera on the computer is not the greatest. Linda, you're only here for 5 minutes, then back to work. Pat, how's it going? I'm glad you guys are joining on YouTube here. Obviously, for those of you who are watching after the fact, after this is posted publicly, this is the live town hall for my OHanlon Selects, and it's where there's some submitted questions, and I pick those questions, and I give the person a shout out, and then I kind of expound further on my answers, as opposed to a normal Q&A where I'm just chatting away to you guys. Hi, Emmett. Sorry I'm late. Don't be sorry. I'm just giving everybody some time to join up and make sure everybody's watching, or as many people as possible. Okay. So I'm gonna, as I'm waiting for a few more people, I'm going to start pulling up these questions. We got some really good questions emailed. I was really happy. Everything you could have hoped for. Okay. Sorry, I just want to get these town hall questions up. Okay. Okay, we have a good number of people watching. With the Patreon app on my phone or tablet, when I click, it brings me to YouTube directly. Virginia, thank you for telling me that. I didn't know that. If you are watching this on the Patreon app on your tablet or your phone, thanks to Virginia, I now know that if you click the video, you click the video, it'll take you to YouTube, to the actual live chat. The reason that only the Patreon, only the OHanlon Selects of the certain tiers have access to these videos is because it's an unlisted live stream rather, which means you have to be able to you have to have the link in order to watch the video. So okay, I'm gonna jump right into the first question. Okay, so hey Judy, how's it going? Okay, so first question that I want to talk a bit about is where is it? There it is. Is Natasha de Almeida? I think that's it. Natasha de Almeida or whatever. Sorry if I'm murdering your name. I wanted to, she submitted a question that I thought was fantastic. She actually submitted a lot of questions, but one of the questions was, what are some of the nicest gifts fans have given you? By the way, is that better? That's an AC unit. And if it's really loud and annoying, I'll just leave it off. Let me know. So that's going to be the first question, Natasha's question. Before we get to that first question, though, there are some things I wanted to mention, just like for people who are watching this after the fact. I may or may not be planning another Stage It. I haven't done a Stage It in quite a while. Although I don't want to do a Stage It until I clear. There's a bit of a mishap with some rewards for the last Stage It's that I did, because my website was kind of crap at the time, as far as like the infrastructure, and that has nothing to do with like who designed it and stuff like that. It was like the back end. And I kind of lost a lot of the information I needed to fulfill some of those things. So I believe all the people that are still owed things have been contacted, and all of the things that are still owed will be remedied before the next Stage It event. So that's one. If you haven't been contacted by the OHanlonselect@gmail.com, go to that email address, OHanlonselect@gmail.com, because that is the one to contact. I think I've gotten everybody, though. Okay, so anyway, that also, this I've mentioned in other live chats. My apartment is still like not fully organized. This is a music stand and a keyboard chair wrapped up in packing wrap or whatever, that like weird cellophane wrap that you get when you're packing things. I still have not gotten rid of that yet. So, I think people are posting on Patreon. Natasha, you are joining us on Patreon. One, Natasha, Virginia told me that if you're watching on the app and not on a computer, well, you could do this on a computer. If you hover your mouse over the video, on the OHanlon Select page and click the title wherever it may be in the top corner, it'll bring you to YouTube. But if you're watching on the app, if you just click the video, it'll bring you to YouTube, which I did not know. So thank you, Virginia, for that. But Natasha, I'm glad that you're joining us because your question is the first question. So now that I've done the announcing bit, and Patreon will be coming out, and I have a note here. Dawn, if you're watching, I emailed you about stuff that you're owed. I don't think Dawn is a select, or rather isn't watching. But if you're watching after the fact, email me at ohanlonselect@gmail because your email got bounced back. So Natasha, the question that I picked from your list of questions was, what are some of the nicest gifts fans have given you? That is from Natasha. So I picked this question for not the most obvious reason. Like, obviously, getting things is awesome. I love that kind of stuff. It's fantastic. Who doesn't like getting things? But for me, the best things that fans have ever given me are words. I mean, you guys have seen me on vlogs. I've done mail times. Speaking of mail times, I have all of this from what I assume is my birthday. All you guys sent to my P.O. box, my new P.O. box in New York. I have yet to do a mail time for this stuff because I'm catching up on other vlogs and I want to save this. I don't want to open it without really videoing it. And once I do that, I want to just post it. So as soon as I post, there's a handful of vlogs coming out. So as soon as those are posted, I'm going to do a mail time for these. Anyway, but all the gifts that you guys had given me for mail time and that kind of stuff, all fantastic. And I love them, and I will never stop doing mail time. And I will continue as long as feasibly possible to open all my packages in a vlog or a video so you guys can see my reaction. I know I get really goofy faces when I get things that I like, or just anything. But the nicest things that I've been given as an artist are actually words from fans. And I know that sounds really cheesy, but what I mean by that is, and I think this person might be watching, but when I was living in Chicago, I think it was my second year in Chicago. Sorry, let me just bump this light up slightly. When I think it was my second year or whatever. Emmett O'Hanlon came to town and he was performing there. And I went and I was vlogging it and I was filming and all this stuff. And one of the fans came up to me, and it was the first time I was meeting fans in a group setting after having started my vlog and my YouTube stuff. And this fan came up to me and told me how much the vlog meant to her and how the vlog had gotten her through some really rough times and illnesses and stuff like that. And it was really intense for me because I had never, on YouTube, the comments you guys leave are amazing. And I try to read all of them. But the viewer count on YouTube is just a number. Obviously, the higher the number, the better, as like a YouTuber or whatever. But getting to meet one of those numbers, those viewers, or a few of the numbers, because clearly this person had rewatched all my vlogs a number of times. Getting to meet one of those people who comment and share and like all the things that I make, and then hearing from them why they watch and why they stay connected and why they interact with those videos and what those videos mean to them, it kind of hit me like a ton of bricks. And it actually really, it made me feel fortunate, but it also made me feel really guilty because I'll vlog for a time and then I'll go on these big hiatuses, these big kind of sabbaticals from vlogging, and I won't for a while. And it mainly, most of the time when I'm not vlogging, it's because I have so much footage saved up that I have to sift through and edit that I feel overwhelmed, and I don't want to add on top of that more footage. I just want to get through that and then, continue on. Now that I'm back in New York, though, I'm hoping that I'll have more time to edit as I go so I can continue or get back to daily vlogging, because that kind of was the best for me. I loved doing that. It was a lot of work, but I loved doing it. So anyway, when I had this when this person said this stuff to me, it like shook me. And then more people were doing that. There was a number of people at Emmett's show that came up to me and said, like, I love your YouTube videos, your vlogs. I watched them when I did this, or when I was going through this, or when I do this. And so that's kind of the nicest thing I've ever been given by a fan, is the knowledge that what I'm doing is not just like shoot some weird videos. Granted, like some of them are weird, but I'm not shooting some random videos that for most people are whatever. They're just a video that you watch because a singer you follow is making videos now. But seeing what effect the videos have on people, and how people connect with them in different ways, and how profound that connection may be for certain people, it was intense, and blows any materialistic gift out of the water. Don't stop sending things though. I love doing mail times. I'm excited to dig into that pile of envelopes from you guys. But yeah, so I would have to say that is the best gift I've ever been like given. But getting to perform for people is quite a gift. Yeah, so that is my answer to that question. Natasha, thank you for sending in that question. I hope I answered it sufficiently for you, and I hope it wasn't too cheesy. But that's the first question that really jumped out at me. I have another question here. Feel free, by the way, to like chat to each other or interact while I'm chatting to you guys in the chat bar. You guys can talk amongst yourselves or talk to me. This is, after all, an interactive town hall. This is actually just in preparation for my political office run. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I'm not jumping into that bowl of worms. Okay. Sorry, I'm getting the second question up here. Okay. You can't leave music or vlogging. I agree. That's why I don't go into politics, because I can't leave music or vlogging. Could you imagine a politician that vlogs? I'm telling you, when my generation starts getting into politics in like a more professional way, you're going to see some politicians who are vlogging, some YouTubers who become politicians. Be afraid. Be very afraid. Okay. Where is this question? Okay, this is one that I wanted to answer. Kevin Meehan. Speaking of Kevin, actually, I wanted to give him a special shout out if you're watching now or watching after the fact. That New York music video that I just put out, and it's now public. It was the OHanlon Select got to see it first for an early release, and now it is now public. He is the one who actually requested. He's the one who actually requested that song, and I didn't give him a shout out in the description of the video, which I meant to. So Kevin, if you were watching, I'm sorry, but also thank you for asking for one of my favorite songs. It's the perfect first music video for me to put out, being back in New York. But yeah, that is a special note I had here. I wanted to acknowledge you, and now I'm acknowledging you again because you sent in a great question. Kevin asks, so opera obviously involves more than just singing, such as acting and a command of several languages. How did you become proficient in these aspects of opera? So so he's saying opera involves obviously other languages and acting, not just standing and singing, which some singers do just stand and sing. But how did you become proficient in these aspects of opera? Were there classes for these in your undergraduate and graduate programs? I know you have coaching staff at the Lyric. I had coaching staff at the Lyric who did that stuff. what about now that you're a freelance artist? Kevin, that is a great question. Oh God, Pat, that was you. I'm so sorry. That is a big mess up. Never mind. I'm sorry that this is so awkward. Kevin is Pat's late husband. Pat, I'm so sorry. So actually, Pat sent in that question. It's just Kevin's name is still on the Facebook account. So Pat, thank you for that question, and also Pat, thank you for asking for New York, New York. I am so sorry, and I feel terrible that I made that mistake. Anyway, so Pat was asking that question. We're going to swiftly move on through this awkward moment. Anyway, it was a great question, Pat. Thank you. I'm going to kind of piece through it bit by bit. So how did I become proficient in acting and the several languages that you have to be able to do? My mom just texted me and said she's trying to talk to me on this broadcast. Mom, you gotta talk to me on YouTube. You gotta chat in the chat box. Well, actually, don't, because then everybody's gonna start emailing you and asking for baby pictures. But anyway, so I'm going to kind of go through this bit by bit. Acting is, you know what? Languages first, because acting, there's a whole bag of monkeys. I'm getting through these animal things. Bowl of worms and bag of monkeys, a whole thing with the acting thing. But languages, it's pretty basic. Undergraduate and graduate degrees, normally you have actual like language classes you have to take, and then you have coaches who coach you in those languages. Some coaches specialize in specific languages. Not that they can't do other languages, except they're just very good at coaching a specific language. And then other coaches kind of coach all of the languages. But that's kind of how that happens. If you're a freelance musician and you still want to work in a more standard way on your languages, you can outsource to you go to actual language classes, or you can then go to one of those coaches who specialize in that language. The idea though is that once you've gotten out of school, you're good enough at the languages to sound authentic. Baby pictures are cute. Baby pictures are cute, but I look crazy as a kid. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of basically how it goes. The reason you keep coaching is because you don't necessarily hear the mistakes you're making in those languages and such. So the idea is that those coaches would call you out in the midst of working with them. They make sure you're on point with that. Now, acting. There's this not so old. There's this stereotype about opera singers. It's called the park and bark, or it's like basically that opera singers don't act. They just stand there and they sing, and then that's it. They bow and walk off. To be fair, there are singers, even now, but mainly in past generations, who did do that. It was a little more accepted. Certain singers, that's just what they did. But sorry, I'm also reading the things people are writing. But that's a stereotype that I pride myself on trying to confound, I guess, or change, because I hate that stereotype. I hate the idea that people expect opera singers not to act. It annoys the bejesus out of me. I find that acting is one of the most powerful things that goes on, that is involved in actually singing in performing in an opera, because singing is the most important thing. You have to be a good singer. But if you're not going to act, like, why are people coming to see you? If you're not going to act the thing you're singing, it's just like they could listen to a recording. Why pay whatever $100 or $300 or $400 for this really nice seat in a big fancy baseball stadium, essentially, if the person's not going to give you any emotion? And I feel strongly about this because I get quite offended when people are like, "Oh, well, here, you're an opera singer, so don't worry about it. You don't have to act." I've had a number of coaches that are kind of acting coaches. One specifically who I work with here in New York, and I met in Juilliard, and he has like changed my life because acting is such a personal thing. And I definitely have aspirations to do just straight acting, like film and TV and stage acting. But if you're not going to bring the same level of preparation or the same, I don't know, gusto when it comes to acting while you're singing in an opera, there's no point. Like, honestly, just go home, because you're kind of ruining it for everybody else. It makes the opera more real if you act and sing. I completely agree, Mary. It absolutely does. And my favorite singers were also great actors. And I don't mean, not every singer has to do the same thing to be a good actor. Some singers, they can stand there, and it's just something about how, like, the subtleties of what their face is doing, or their subtle movements. That's all it takes. And that's their acting. And it's magic. It's electrifying. And some singers are much more physical, and they move a lot more, and they get more physically into it in a more kind of extroverted way. That's just a different interpretation. Both are fine as long as you're actually doing it. But if you're just going to stand there and sing and not bother, then I don't think people should bother to come see you sing. I feel very strongly about this for the reasons I've listed, but also because there are singers working now in the industry that do this, and it annoys the crap out of me. They're making it harder for everybody else, because if somebody who's not into opera, just the average Joe, comes to an opera and sees that, they're going to get instantly turned off. They're going to say, like, who the hell cares about this? This is ridiculous. Especially if you're in an opera house where you're an American, you only speak English, let's say, and you're seeing an Italian opera and there are no subtitles, or there are super titles, but there are only a few, or they're not very good. The acting is what really tells people what's going on. Like, yes, super titles and subtitles are necessary if you don't speak the language, but they only will tell you so much. The subtleties are in the acting. And the people who are working in the industry now, who just can't be bothered, or really don't like their job maybe, but are working in very, very, very famous opera houses on a consistent basis, and just, think they're too good for it, I guess. But anyway, the acting thing's a little harder because a lot of opera degrees, undergraduate and master's degrees, don't focus on acting. And I suppose that's part of the reason why this stereotype exists. The stereotype of opera singers can't act, because even at the formal schooling, the formal education level, there are very few acting classes that like work with an actual acting coach or teacher that is required in the degree. Most of the time, if you're an opera singer and you want to do that, you have to outsource. You have to go to somewhere else. You have to go outside the education that you're paying for, which is crazy, to get that kind of experience. I was lucky, especially in my master's, that Juilliard, I got some exposure to that. But I think it should be just as prevalent as coaching languages and coaching arias. You should have weekly, or a few times a week, you should have to coach with an acting coach, which we did, and that's the guy I'm referring to in New York. I hope he's cool with this. His name is David Paul. He's unbelievable. If you are a singer and you are in New York, well, he travels too because he's a director. If he's in your area, you can follow him on Twitter and Facebook and all that stuff. He's incredible. He's the acting coach I worked with at Juilliard, but he was also there as a director. And so, I got lucky, and he's amazing. But, and he actually really opened my eyes to all of this when it comes to acting in opera. I love how passionate you are about your craft. Well, thank you. I feel like if you're not passionate about what you do, don't do it. That's not fair. I'm very lucky. I get to do what I love. But anyway, so that's the acting part. It needs to be more prevalent in the formal education aspect of singing, because if you're going to pay for a degree, you better get everything that you're paying for. And I think 99% of musical degrees in at least this country do not give you what you need to be a singer. So I'm not going to name any names of schools because I don't want to get in trouble. But, take that for what it's worth. But anyway, Pat, that was a great question, a great group of questions. And to kind of go a little further with the whole freelance idea, when you're a freelance musician, you kind of build a team. You build a team of people who are gonna be your team going forward. And I certainly have a team of people that I work with, specific people that really are always there for me and can help me with anything that I might need help with, like amongst the group. There's somebody who can help with whatever it is. Anyway, so Pat, thank you for that question. That was fantastic. That one really jumped out at me. There's another, moving on to the next one. Sorry, I'm just looking for it here. Kara, hello. Also, your question is next. Kara sent a question she submitted a question for the town hall, and it was a good one also because I could talk about it a lot. The cats are jumping at the door. The question is, would you or have you ever thought of doing a show on Broadway? Kara, I have certainly thought about certain things I can't tell you because they've not happened yet. But because of the team of people I work with are so incredible at what they do, and I have a very, very good agent, I will be auditioning for a casting agency here in New York, who is one of the largest casting agencies in the country or world, I guess, for Broadway. They cast a lot of things on Broadway, and I would be, and TV and film, but I would first be auditioning for them specifically for Broadway stuff. It's a very hard audition to get, even just to get in the door, because everybody wants to sing for them because they kind of control it all. And I'm very lucky that I have this opportunity. And I'm hoping that it will lead to ultimately singing in a Broadway show. I'm a guy, I'm a baritone, and opera singing baritones, it's a lot easier for us to do both opera and musical theater than it is other voice parts. Things just fit, this is miles away. The audition's not miles away, but like anything that might happen, it might not happen for years. It might happen next year. Who knows? But it is something that I'm actively pursuing in my future because I've always been in love with Broadway as well. I very much have always thought of myself as an entertainer. I've never really considered myself just an opera singer, as you may have noticed from the vlogs and all of the myriad of other weird things that I do. Touring with Celtic Thunder, my solo tours, where I think I've only ever sung like one or two art songs and like one aria. So I've never really considered myself just the opera singer. I've always tried to be more of an entertainer because as I said before, I definitely have aspirations of acting in stage, film, and TV, and also obviously Broadway. So yes, I have considered, and I'm hoping to someday sing in a Broadway show. It's been in my life as long as singing has been in my life. I was in my first ever Broadway musical that I was in was like a small regional company on Long Island. It was like community theater, I guess. I was very young, and I was in Oliver Twist. And I was one of the two kids they were considering for Oliver Twist, except the other kid was a little older than me, and they had worked with him before, so they gave it to him. But I think I was better. Sorry, I'm reading a bit of the things here. Anyway, so that, and I was very young. I was one of Fagin's gang, but. And I loved it. It was obviously it was a load of fun. Who wouldn't have fun doing that? I mean, plenty of people, but in my eyes, it's the best job in the world. So then it went into high school, and I did a lot more of it every year. My school put on a musical, which I'm lucky for because a lot of A lot of public high schools don't do that. A lot of public high schools don't even have an arts program anymore, which I will not talk about because that has to do with politics. But as you may be able to guess, it infuriates me. But I will. Yes, I absolutely want to be in a Broadway show at some point. Sorry, I'm not very good at talking and reading at the same time, as I've noticed. What's your... So anyway, Kara, thank you for that awesome question. There's one more question I wanted to address in the town hall. Where are we here? One second. I had all these questions in order, but of course, you know, one thing after another here. Okay. All right, so Tracy, this is the last question. Tracy sent in a great question. It is, I was wondering if you could explain the selection process for those chosen to sing in with an opera company. I assume there are tryout competitions. I'm going to go ahead and assume, Tracy, you mean like non-freelance, like you mean singing as a young artist, which is what I was doing in Chicago, because they're very different. Auditioning as a young artist is everything from regular auditions to a formal competition to get into the Young Artist program. And then auditioning as a freelance artist is much more regular auditions or auditioning for like a specific role, but it's never a competition to get that. I guess it is kind of a competition to get that role, but it's never like a formal competition to get that role. So I will talk about my experience getting into the Young Artist program in Chicago. The process was quite weird, and by weird I mean unexpected. I got an email from a coach, but he's kind of a consultant, not for me, but for opera companies and stuff. But he coaches people at Juilliard sometimes. I got an email from him saying, "Hey, Chicago needs a baritone." And what that meant was they had their competition, and I did not apply for the competition. They had their competition to see who they wanted to consider for that next year or two or whatever to be in the Young Artist program. And they didn't hear any baritones that they really liked. And that's not fair. Not that they didn't not hear people they liked. It's just they didn't hear what they needed, because it's not really about who is the absolute best singer. It's who's the best version of what they want or what they need, because there's very specific types of voices, even within the part of like within baritones. There's a bunch of different kinds of baritones, and within sopranos there's a bunch of different kinds of sopranos. So I got an email and he said, "You want to go audition?" And at first I really didn't want to do a Young Artist program, and in my defense, most young artist programs kind of suck. And by suck, I mean it's a lot of work and not much reward. You don't really get on stage that much. You just get used basically while you're there, and you hope to make enough contacts for when you leave to work. I was very wrong about Chicago. I know this now, obviously, in hindsight, that I was wrong. But at the time, I was told by the person who was emailing me, reach out to Taka. Taka is a baritone that you guys have seen in the vlog before. I went to Juilliard with him. He was a baritone there at the program at the time. I said, okay. So I called him, and right away he's like, no, you're totally wrong. This place is amazing. We do get on stage. We do get taken care of. You make incredible contacts. You get to audition for a bunch of people. So I said, okay, sure. Fine. So I said, yeah, I'll definitely audition, because, why not? So they flew me out. I sang for them with 3 other baritones who were also auditioning, and they were very good singers, the other guys. So I thought, like, there's no way. Like, I'm like the youngest guy here out of the 4 of us. I'll just get to sing. Oh, look, kitten. I'll just get to, I'll just sing for them, and then I'll head out. But then they asked me to stay for another day. They said, would you stay and have a voice lesson with Julia, who's the voice teacher there, and would you have a coaching with Craig, who's the head coach? Like, he's the musical director of the whole program, but he also coaches. I said, sure. And I assumed everybody was doing this. Apparently nobody else, they didn't ask anybody else to stay and do this. I forgot to mention, when we were all auditioning, we all had to watch each other audition. Basically, we were all like backstage. So when you're singing, you knew a bunch of people who were hoping to get the job over you were standing right there, which was nerve-wracking to say the least. But anyway, so they asked me to stay. I had a voice lesson. It was great. It went great. It went very well. I had a coaching. It went very well. And Matthew Horner, who is the head of the IMG agency. It's a artist agency. It's actually, my agent is an IMG agent. So Matthew Horner was there giving a lecture basically to the current young artists that were there at the time about like life after young artists and all this stuff. And I got to sit in on that little like lunch lecture, and that was really cool. Little did I know a few years later we would like basically be working together. And then I got pulled into Dan's office, who he's the head of the program, and there's a cat. This is Presley. So I got pulled into the office, and he said. He said, we would like to, he slid the contract across the table, all dramatic, like, and all 3 of them were there. And they said, we'd like to formally ask you to join the Young Artist program here. And I heard I was very surprised. I really didn't see it coming. And at the time I remember it was like a dull buzzing in my ear. It was just kind of like, what? And the first thing I said, I think, was, can I call my mom, please? Because I wanted to tell her. So yeah, that's how it was auditioning for me for Young Artists, the Young Artist program. A lot of other people, they do the competition and they get asked like that day, and you basically have to sign a contract that day. So that's how it is to audition for a Young Artist program. Now for like a freelance audition, all the auditions I've done since being a freelance artist, it's much more like they're hearing you either for a specific role, or kind of like hearing you to then know who you are, or hearing you with like a few things in mind. That's always sorry, the cats are playing. That's always kind of the general gist of the whole thing. You don't always know what they're considering you for, but if they're considering you for something that's coming up, you usually know what it is. And it's always the same. And it was the same when I auditioned for Young Artists, and it was the same now. You bring a handful of arias, usually just 5. You start with 1, and then they'll ask for 1 or 2, maybe. One time I sang all 5, and that was crazy. That was a lot of singing. It went well, but it was a lot of singing. Actually, I think for Chicago, I sang 4. I ended up singing 4 arias. So that was crazy too. But anyway, so that is the end of this this town hall, the live interactive town hall. I hope you guys all had fun. I really liked talking to you guys on the side here, between questions or within questions. Just a reminder, if you haven't gotten an email from me and you are owed things from my past stages, I think I reached out to everybody, but if you haven't gotten an email, email me at ohanlonselect@gmail.com, and I will look over the records I have and see what is missing. I want to do that, as I said before, I want to do that really, really soon. I want to get that all done because I want to announce a possible stage it show coming up. Anyway, thank you all. I don't. Sorry, I'm not sure, Judy. Oh no, I emailed you. Yeah. No, You're good. Anyway, so thanks for watching. I'm glad. Thank you for all the great questions. They were fantastic. I really look forward to doing the next town hall. And thank you for being OHanlon Selects. If you're watching this live, all of you guys who are watching this after the fact, consider joining the family. Consider joining the OHanlon Select family. I think the link is in my Instagram bio and like all over my Facebook and stuff like that. It'll be in the description of this video on YouTube as well. Yeah, we're a tight-knit group and we all get to chat a lot. So anyway, thank you guys for joining me. I hope you had fun. The cats certainly had fun while I was talking. I wish I had it in front of me. There's a lot coming up. There's a lot of other footage other content coming out, and then also some live stuff coming out. So stay tuned. There'll be announcements over the next few days for the selects. Yeah, I will see you then. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you enjoyed it.